Welcome to another episode of Fuck Your Job. I'm Ron Worley.
And I'm Josh Fullenweider.
Fuck your job.
Welcome to the Fuck Your Job podcast. I'm Josh Fullenweider, and I'm on the Zoom meeting here today with Ron Worley, and we've got a special guest,
Hey guys.
My cousin, Bryan Bernal. We like to call him Slappy.
Morning, guys.
So,
Hey Slappy. I love that name.
What's up?
So Slappy here and I have known each other our whole lives, of course, but he's living out in Vegas, and he helps people with disabilities enter into the workforce, build job skills, and find employment. And we're here today to talk about all the benefits to employers of hiring people that have disabilities, because there's a lot of fears and a lot of myths that kind of hurt people with disabilities, because employers don't know a lot of things about it. So Bryan, I'll kind of turn it over to you, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into doing what you're doing.
All right. Thanks, Josh, you slap dick. You know, that's just kind of how we do things around my family. So I've been working with people with disabilities for about 13 years now. Personally, it wasn't my career field. I wanted to get into athletic training, but you know, I'm disabled myself, have been since birth. I have cerebral palsy, and it's just kind of where I was led. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's been a good career path for me. I started out in Colorado. I worked for a couple of nonprofits out there, and then my wife was offered a job here in Vegas with the local Fox affiliate, and we moved here about 11 years ago. And so I kind of just continued my path into that field. I worked for a couple of other nonprofits. Goodwill was one of them. And then I moved on to another one. And then I actually went back to school and got my master's degree in special education. Became a special ed teacher for 5 years. Enjoyed that, but honestly got burned out. How it is in Colorado, but here in Nevada, the burnout for special education teachers about years. If you can make it past 3 years, you're good. I made it at year 3 and said, that's it, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I ended up working for another nonprofit, the largest nonprofit here in Vegas, for about a year, and actually stayed in contact with my supervisor at Goodwill all those years ago. And she called me and asked me to come and work for them to be their program facilitator, which is 2 parts. I actually run a program at Goodwill called the STEPS program. We take in folks that are severely disabled but want work. So we run an assessment with them, typically 20 days. We do a janitorial assessment and a retail assessment, and we assess their skills. What are they good at? What do they need to work on? And at the end of the assessment, we try to figure out, are they competitively employable or not? Most of the people that leave that program, they need supported employment. So they're going to be working in a sheltered workshop. They're going to be working with a job coach. Those kind of things are what we look for in that program. The second part of the job that I was doing, I was going into the local high schools here and teaching SPED kids, so juniors and seniors, job skills. So we were teaching them soft skills. We were teaching them hard skills, how to interview correctly, you know, how to do just basic resumes, how to do cover letters, all these things that a lot of our SPED kids and even our general ed kids don't have, you know. So I went through and I developed my own curriculum, and we teach them these skills to hopefully one of 2 things: either find them a job after they graduate, or they want to transition into college. We do a whole unit on college as well, and how to, you know, admission process, applying for scholarships, applying for grants, applying for federal aid, those kind of things, and then getting them into school and getting them set up with the Disability Resource Center. So when I was working, before I got laid off after all this mess happened, I was extremely busy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my background.
Yeah. Well, and just to give everybody kind of some context in case they're listening to this out of order, we're all standing in our living rooms, bathrooms, that sort of thing, recording this because, of course, the coronavirus is going on right now, and we're all under house stay-at-home orders. That's what it's called. So, anyway.
Unless you want to golf, and then you can go golf.
Can you still golf still?
Yeah, that's the most amazing part about this.
Oh, I didn't know
Well,
that.
here in Vegas, they shut the golf course down. Golf course.
You probably have to walk it though because of
Yes.
that, and I'm too lazy for that.
Josh, you've seen me walk, and I can't walk.
Getting back to it here, Bryan, you obviously, you got laid off, but I think it's great that this is what you're doing. Is this what you're going to go back to doing once the coronavirus thing is done?
Yeah, that's my plan. My plan to go back to Goodwill and, kind of continue what I was doing. It's really going to depend here in Vegas, guys, on funding as far as with the state of Nevada and as far as what the Clark County School District is going to do. If the Clark County School District does not open back up the rest of the year, I'm kind of screwed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's where the majority of my money comes from, is from those classes.
That makes sense.
Oh, man.
Well, I think it's great that these programs are out there in the first place. I mean, I didn't have any of those programs, and I wish I had. Just the mock interviews and helping with the what's it called? The resumes and applications.
Resumes. Yeah, and nor did I. I never had this type of opportunity growing up. I had some pretty good teachers, but there was never a class where I could sit in and learn the skills that young people need. I mean, think about it, fellas. We never had the opportunity to learn those skills, and we kind of had to do this blind,
Right.
So it's a big help. I feel it's a big help for sure.
Yeah. So having, seen it from both sides, both as having a disability and then helping those with disabilities, what do you see from employers when they're looking to hire somebody with a disability? What's kind of their biggest reservations?
To be honest with you, Josh, it's kind of twofold. What I've seen over the years is the fear of the unknown. For an employer looking to hire somebody with a disability, there's a lot of fear. Just they don't know what they're getting. You can groom a young person for an interview and all these things, but once the employer finds out they have a disability, whether the employer can see it or not, the employer goes, "Oh shit, what do I do now? I mean, are they going to be a liability to my company? Are they going to get hurt? If they have a physical disability, what if they fall down? Those kind of things." So it's fear of just not knowing really what the person is capable of. Mm-hmm. The other side of that is training. We see a lot of fear when it comes to training a person with a disability. I deal with a lot of kids that are intellectually disabled or learning disabled. And it's just, if they can't learn simple tasks, then how the hell are they going to do my job? That's really the fear that I see.
And your program, you have a way to kind of relieve that fear or take away that uncertainty, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my program walks these young people through, basic job skills, just things that most people take for granted, time, doing their time, making sure that their pay is correct, making sure that they can communicate their needs, their wants. So self-advocacy, proper communication with an employer. What information can a person with a disability share with an employer, personal information, that kind of thing. We talk about teamwork, how to work as a team, as a leader, how to be a part of a team, within a corporation. So there's a lot of different aspects that we cover.
Yeah. And then is it your program, or do you refer them to like Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, where they can actually apply for and get a job coach?
So once they're done with us, then we refer them back to the Division of Rehabilitation. They will sit down with their counselor, and they will develop a job plan, whatever that job plan may be. I'm not privy to that. I don't have that information. So a lot of them will sit down and discuss where they want to work, how many hours they want to work a day, what days they want to work, those kind of things. And then it's kind of dependent on the vocational counselor if they set them up with a job coach.
Okay. Now, I know one of the biggest fears out there for employers is, well, because of this Americans with Disabilities Act, if I hire somebody with a disability, I'm stuck with them and I can't get rid of them. Is that true?
That is absolutely not true. The Americans with Disabilities Act is just a protection for those. It does not mean that an employer has to treat them any differently. That's the biggest misconception with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The employer has every right to terminate that person or to write them up. They are considered an employee. They are no different. And I think, unfortunately, this written, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of fear, more so on the part of the employer, just the way it's worded.
Yeah. Well, I know I've heard that from people. Well, what do I do? So I guess from my perspective, you should probably have, an employer should have written procedures on how they deal with any problem employee. And then as long as they treat the person with disabilities the same way and follow the same procedures, they're covered, right?
Absolutely. The Disabilities Act is really to protect with the disability on the front end of the hiring process. So that goes into an employer not ask a person if they have a disability and they can't make assumptions of if they have a disability. It really protects that person with the disability in the interview process and getting hired on as a person with a disability.
Okay. All right. That's kind of most of my questions about it. Ron, did you have any questions you wanted to add on or ask?
Yeah, I was just waiting for R2D2 to get done talking. I don't know if became Star Wars here.
Yeah, it's it sounds a little bit like a can, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, so Bryan, I had just some questions about an employer that may employ your people. Is there any cost to them, extra cost to them that they need to be prepared for? Maybe not only just to set up, but is it going to cost them more money to have somebody that has a handicap? That, do they need to install ramps, or what if somebody's in a wheelchair? I suppose they would, but anyways, you know where I'm going with that, I think.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Ron, and I actually get that a lot. There's no extra employer. Believe it or not, hiring somebody with a disability, especially through Voc Rehab, what'll happen is Voc Rehab will pick up 6 months of their wages. So half of their wages Voc Rehab 6 months once they are hired. If they are through rehabilitation. Now, under accommodations is what we call them. Accommodations or modifications. So the Americans with Disabilities Act is really important. Lays out what a reasonable accommodation. So, for instance, say you decide to hire me in one of your companies, second floor. I use a wheelchair full time. I can't get to your second floor, and I said, "Well, Ron, I think I need you to put in a ramp for me so I can get to office." Now, is that a reasonable accommodation? Absolutely not. It's and in your company, you're not going to be able to take in that cost. It's feasible.
Right.
That's not reasonable. So what you would do, Ron, or anybody listening, is you can put that person on the first floor. You can develop an office on the first floor for a person in a wheelchair to get to. Set up the computer or whatever it is they're doing, and make that accommodation an accommodation that you can make. If I needed some type of special software, it's going to depend on the cost. Maybe the software $5,000. Maybe you can't afford that, but you can afford the $2,000 version. You've made that accommodation for me. I need to figure it out. So, it's very, it has to be done the right way. Like a person with a disability can and demand, these are the things that I need, bang, bang, bang. That's not how this works. It has to be an agreement between the employer and the person with the disability to make it work for the party.
Okay.
All right. Well, that makes sense. So I have a question for you, and you've been doing this a long time now.
Yeah.
So what are your rewards? What keeps you going? What keeps you in it? What would make somebody else want to help out and maybe do what you're doing?
I tell you what, Ron, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, doing something like this is not easy. I don't know how you do, and I think you just kind of get into a groove and you just learn and figure out how people work. A person with a disability is no different than you or I. They have thoughts, they have emotions, they have dreams. And really what you do is trying to get them to reach that dream. And that's really what makes me happy, seeing a young person go from either sitting in a class or going through one of our assessments, and they've had this dream of they want to work, and then 3-4 months down the road they call me up and say, "Hey Bryan, I got a job." That makes it all worth it right there, because you're doing what's right.
Any particular success stories you want to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. This just happened right before the coronavirus. I was teaching a class at one of our high schools, and I had been with these kids for about 3 months now, and we had gone through the entire, curriculum that I have. And actually, it was the last class. I had a student come up and say, "Give me a big hug," and he said, "Hey, Bryan, I just want you to know I used all of the information and all the techniques that you taught me to get a job at the Miracle Mile shops." So,
Awesome.
I mean, that was awesome. That made it worthwhile.
That's great.
There, so, and I've had, people go through our program at Goodwill that have started out, just being able to do the basic functions of a retail job, move all the way up into working, at Walmart. I've got a young person working at Albertsons. So, I mean, it's really cool to see those success stories, guys. It really is. I have to be honest with you. A lot of times it's far between. Those few they keep you going. They keep you going.
Yep.
That's great.
I imagine.
Yeah.
So what's the fallback plan then if the school doesn't open up? If schools don't open up before too long here, what do you do from here?
That's a really good question, and that's I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of the disability realm and that kind of thing. That's kind of my forte. I would really maybe like to get into higher ed, working at the college. Working in the Disability Resource Center there, helping students, navigate through the college program. So that's an option that I'm looking into, and at this point, that's kind of it right now. I haven't really thought about it, Ron.
Okay.
Is there a way to maybe start a foundation or a nonprofit that you could run that branches off of this, maybe? Because you're talking about education there, and I know it's nice to have, to go work at a school, get some set income and whatnot. But if somebody's out there and they really want to help out their community and do what you're doing, is that an opportunity? Is there a lot of government assistance to open up things like this? And
Absolutely. It's a huge opportunity, for a corporation or even a small business that wants to get into helping people with disabilities. And it doesn't even have to be opening a foundation. It's just hiring somebody with a disability. What I've seen and what's pretty common across the board, hiring somebody with a disability is a win-win for a corporation or anybody at this point. And the reason being is they're on time. They never miss. They want to be there. and they're going to be
Right.
probably the best damn employees you've ever had because
Yeah,
they've
I
had to
appreciate it.
fight. Yeah, they've had to fight for everything that they've got. So,
Okay.
as far as trying to open a business doing this, yeah, it can. There's a lot of government assistance. It's just going out and finding the money, putting in the time to write the grants and things like that. It can be done.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to see you disappear because of this stupid virus. So I was trying to think outside the box here.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Ron. I really do.
Hey, Brian, does
Yeah.
DVR, who I know you work closely with, do they do hire on independent contractors ever as job coaches and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So prior to coming to Goodwill, that's what I did. I was a contractor. I was a job coach hired through BVR to go in and job coach with clients. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. They kind of do that out here, and it's a 1099 deal. You don't get a W-2. So,
Right. So you're as far as the job coach, your pay is based off how many hours you put in with the client, how many hours does Voc Rehab want you to be with the client. There's a lot of paperwork with that, making sure that you're doing what you say you're doing. So, when I was doing the job coaching, I was running about 6 clients, so it was pretty busy.
Okay. Well, we're on the
All right,
free Zoom thing here, and it's got 40 minutes, and we started a few minutes before 8:30, so I'm worried we're going to run out of time here. Any closing thoughts for us, Brian?
Just if you have a person with a disability that wants to work for your company, or you want to get involved working with somebody with a disability, do it. It'll be the best experience of your life. It'll be a challenge, but it'll be something that you'll never forget. And if there's somebody that has a company and kind of on the edge of hiring somebody with a disability, give it a shot. They'll be the best work you have. I guarantee it. They'll work harder than you've ever seen anybody work just to keep that job and to do what's right for the company. Give it a shot.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time here today, Brian.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Slappy. We appreciate you and what you do, man. It's great. It's good.
You bet, man. No worries. Ron, I'm going to come up with a name for you. Don't worry.
I got lots of them, man.
All right, Brian. Thanks so much.
Join us on Facebook at The Jobless Legion, or subscribe to our YouTube channel and like, comment, and share
so that we can get the message out to aspiring entrepreneurs just like you.
Thank you.
Fuck your job.